What's up everybody, how's it going? It's Berk, aka Dansg08 here, and I want to make a final hangout video for you guys for the year 2020 because it's been an insane year. A lot of things have happened, of course, and you know, not only in the real world, but on the channel it's been another big year. A lot of content, a lot of games, a lot of cool things have happened, and I wanted to sort of just sit down and really go through like what I've been up to this year on the Dansg08 channel and sort of reminisce about the content that I've created, the games that I've played, and you know, the things that have happened over this insane year that probably not many of us are going to soon forget. So that's going to be the theme of this final hangout. It's going to be a longer one, but we're going to go through the sort of the story of 2020 for the Dansg08 channel. Before we get into it, of course, I want to thank you all so much, especially for the year 2020, because you know, thanking you guys is something that I try to do as much as I can, and maybe it feels a bit stale at times, or it feels a bit rehearsed, or like I do it because I have to or whatever, but like especially this particular one is really, really important to me this year because I know how difficult it's been for a lot of people. You know, financially, there's people like, let's say they were patrons and they reached out to me and you know, they said, you know, we're going through financial difficulties, we can't support you anymore, and this sort of thing. Like in general, given how deeply the pandemic has affected our lives in so many different ways, it's just been a very, very tough year. And you know, supporting a YouTuber whose content you like in whatever way that you can is very low priority when it comes to, you know, the day-to-day difficulties of what we're living through in 2020. And despite that, it has been a really great year for the channel. There's been so many people continuing to support, continuing to donate on the stream, becoming patrons. Like, you know, I've had people where even if they're struggling to sort of maintain the tier on Patreon, they've lowered it to the lowest one just so they can continue to show some kind of support. And that sort of stuff means the world to me. The fact that even during these times, people want to, you know, still go that extra mile to support your content. It's absolutely huge to me, and I really do appreciate everyone when it comes to that. Especially again, like the viewership as well. You know, it's one of these things where people have said to me, "Oh, you know, it's the pandemic. Everyone's at home. Like your content must be booming." And well, sure. I mean, the views did go up, and it did coincide with Final Fantasy VII Remake's release. But also, you've got to remember that the competition has also gone up as well. There's so many more people are watching Netflix all the time. Loads more YouTube channels are probably pumping out more content than normal. So you know, the ways in which you can spend time watching content has increased a lot this year, I think. And the fact that people continue to still choose to watch the content and to support the content, likes, comments, sharing, interaction, and all that kind of stuff, it really does mean a lot to me. And I appreciate it this year especially so much. So I want to thank everybody once again for the support on the channel. A special thank you, of course, to my moderator team, who I love dearly. They continue to support the channel, continue to be active on the stream as best as they can, and to keep that community a place where people can keep coming back to and to enjoy and to feel safe and to have fun in and to sort of get away from the difficulties of, you know, this year and everything that it has brought. So thank you, of course, to those guys. They really are sort of the heroes of the Dansg08 community. I can't manage the entire community by myself now because, you know, with my own social media and, you know, what goes on YouTube and the stream that's literally 24/7 and there's always things going on, I can't interact with and sort of moderate and manage everything. So those guys are super helpful, and you know, they really do make the channel a better place to be. So thank you so much to you guys as well. And let's get into the story of 2020 on the Dansg08 channel. I hope you enjoy. Okay, my friends, let's begin the journey of 2020 on the Dansg08 channel. This is something that's going to be interesting for me because I feel like there's going to be some stuff here that even I've forgotten that I did like over the past year. So basically the final video that I recorded was this one, Dansg08's amazing trip to Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore and South Korea. And I will be saying this a few times because, you know, I'll say it where I genuinely feel it's relevant. This is a video that I do think that you should check out. It was uploaded on the 31st of December 2019. 2020, like, given all the restrictions and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of surreal that like a few months before this whole thing began, I had one of the most amazing trips of my life where I went to the Far East and I saw so many cool things and experienced so many awesome things that, like, a few months after that whole thing happened, we went into lockdown and the world really changed. So I was very fortunate to be able to go to the Far East before all the madness of 2020 began. But if you want to hear about my adventures while I was out there, this is definitely a good video to check out. So, at the start of the year, I was working through the rest of Death Stranding and Lightning Returns. So they seem to be the two series, and the P. Birdman mod. I mean, Death Stranding turned into one of those series that was mega long. There was a lot to do in that game, and it took a very long time to get to the end. I think it was like 60 hours or something that I played, and it ended up being like 89 episodes or something along those lines. So it was a mega series. But honestly, I feel like if it's one of those series where, like, if you vibe with it at the start and you embrace the sort of the world, the journey, the story intrigues you, and that kind of thing, there's a lot of content here for you to enjoy. So Death Stranding was, I said it at the end of the game, it really is one of those games where, unique is a word that's thrown around a lot, but Death Stranding is truly a unique game. There really is nothing else like it, and it's hit or miss, but if it hits, it will seriously hit well. So Death Stranding was definitely one of the most interesting experiences I've had gaming-wise on the PS4, both in good ways and in bad ways. Now, Lightning Returns, I want to throw a special word in for Lightning Returns. I mean, I think actually both of these series were 89 episodes. Was this the final one? Final day, actually. Wait, no, okay, it was even longer. Wow. Okay, so let me just see, how many episodes was it? Okay, yeah, so it ended up being 92 episodes, and what I will do is I'll randomly, I'll show something from... There's non-spoiler in case you do want to watch the series or you want to play the game eventually. But Lightning Returns was one of those games that actually ended up being a lot better than I expected. Lightning Returns, my first experience with it was it was decent. I mean, it was fine. I didn't hate the game or anything. I didn't think it was crap, but it wasn't like a standout Final Fantasy experience. Once I came around to try it again, I played the game a different way to how I played the first time, which was for the movie version that I did back in 2014. And honestly, the game is a lot better than I thought. And it used to be Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13-2, and then Final Fantasy 13-3 ranking-wise. But Final Fantasy 13-3 has definitely leapfrogged the second game for me once I played them all, the second time round. I would say it's got to be up there as one of the best Final Fantasies ever made in terms of the side quests available. I really do think they did a stellar job with the side quests of Final Fantasy 13-3. So that was actually a really good series on the channel, surprisingly good, and that was something that I completed the year with, along with Death Stranding. So what else? Once I made my way through those, so yeah, I finished 13-3 after 92 episodes. And then, what did I move on to? Yes. Okay. Well, my friends, 2020 was the year which I played Nier Automata for the first time. Nier Automata was that game where I had so many people over the past few years pitch the game to me and just say, you got to play it. It's a game that crosses over with Final Fantasy fandom a lot. There's a lot of Final Fantasy fans that really like Nier Automata, and it was a series that I knew I'd eventually get to, but I had a Patreon vote, and it narrowly lost to Horizon Zero Dawn, which in hindsight was not a bad thing at all, because Horizon Zero Dawn is also got to be one of the top 10 to 15 best games I've ever played, and Nier Automata ended up being one of those games too. So it was kind of a win-win, but I got to it a little bit later than a lot of viewers would have liked. But 2020 was the year. February the 22nd, I uploaded the first part of Nier Automata. It's a series that, relative to other non-Final Fantasy titles, has done better. I mean, part 1, as of now, it has almost 13,000 views and 500 likes, only 5 dislikes, which is pretty awesome going. I mean, that's about as good as it gets on the channel. So it was a game that, again, I really ended up enjoying. The story in the world was really intriguing. It's not a style of combat that I'm too sort of familiar with. Most of the games I played don't really have that style. But it's something I got used to, fairly quickly, and I really ended up enjoying it. The energy and the dynamism of the combat system was pretty cool. And yeah, all in all, Nier Automata was definitely one of the best gaming experiences that I've had on the PS4. If you haven't seen the series and you don't really know about the game, it's very, very highly recommended. It was one of the best games I've played, and of course, by extension, I think it's one of the better playthroughs on the channel. So 2020 was also the year of Nier Automata. So it was February the 22nd, 2020, the first part of Nier Automata. Now, we start getting into territory where the pandemic is going to start to kick in. Now, I did a video here, like a one-off thing. I came across this on Twitter, I think, or like some other platform, I forget what it was. But the results of this poll really interested me. I think there was like 450,000 people that participated in it, and that's a large sample size, and there was definitely some interesting results here. So it might have been a video that passed you by, but it's definitely one I think you should definitely check out if you're curious about the results of a giant Final Fantasy survey. So we make our way into March, and basically midway through March was when shit started to go down, and the lockdowns began in Europe, and the pandemic truly started to kick into action. So at this point, I'm gonna switch over to the stream, because I wanna talk a little bit about the stream in the year 2020. Okay, so 2020 March was when like the pandemic really started to get worse, and the lockdown started to begin. And by the time we got to about April sort of time in the year, I think both the UK, the rest of Europe, and the US started to lock things down, and shit started to get super serious. And around that time, you know, the stream was around, and we definitely started to notice more people coming in. So once the lockdowns began, people were working from home, people weren't allowed to go out and socialize, and I think more people were spending time on YouTube, you know, discovering new videos, discovering new content, discovering new channels, discovering new communities, and of course the stream was something that benefited from that. So 2020 was definitely the year of the stream in terms of like its raw performance. The first year of the stream was absolutely incredible anyway. I mean, I've talked about that at length already, but in the year 2020 we really did have a genuine leap in viewership. Now, over the first year of the stream, like viewer-wise, we didn't really change that much. I mean, the numbers were by and large fairly the same, like average-wise. But once we hit 2020 and the pandemic started, people started coming to the stream more. They realized it was a fun place to hang out. You know, my moderator team, they do such great work in trying to keep the place like civilized and fun and positive, and a place where we can sort of escape from the crazy reality of the pandemic. And that definitely helped things, and the stream in terms of its viewership really did start to grow. So that was sort of March, April time, and I will come back to the stream a little bit later. Then I continued through Nier Automata and neared the end of Death Stranding, and then basically at this sort of time we were getting very close to the start of Final Fantasy VII Remake. And it was a game that got delayed as well. There was a lot of game delays this year for obvious reasons. And basically Final Fantasy VII, of course I wanted to sort of keep the interest alive, let people know that I'm covering it and I'm interested in it, and that I'm kind of, you know, researching it, on the ball about it. And once again, I came across some interesting stuff about the game, where the developers answered some questions that many of us would have had about the upcoming release. So I wanted to share that with people, just to get the discussion going about the game, and to sort of build up a little bit more of that hype before the game arrived on the channel. So this was a video I made, and considering what happened in the game, it was kind of interesting to look back on some of the stuff that was talked about here. But yeah, it was a build-up sort of video as the hype for Final Fantasy VII Remake was growing. Now, this was a very important period of the year. Like, this for me was probably like the biggest and craziest 2 weeks of the entire year. So not only did we have the epic Unalesca battle in the Final Fantasy X-P Birdman mod, which is a series that has turned into an absolute marathon, and because it's only one episode per week, even though they're long episodes, so like this was over 2 hours, it's really given the series a longevity, and people have remained interested as I've continued on. I mean, look at this episode. Almost 10,000 views and 0 dislikes, which, you know, on YouTube almost never happens anymore. So I'll make it 250 just for the sake of this video. But yeah, I mean, this was a big video, big battle. Unalesca is always one that people like to tune into, and it was good to upload this one as well. And again, look at the date, 4th of April, very close to when Final Fantasy VII Remake was going to be released. So this video was definitely an important one, and it started off a chain of very important videos on the channel. So let's talk Final Fantasy VII Remake. For me, this was the biggest release of the year on the channel for obvious reasons. I think in terms of sheer size, Cyberpunk and The Last of Us 2 are bigger releases. But when it comes to the Dansg08 channel, of course, many of you are here because of Final Fantasy, and whenever a new Final Fantasy game comes out, I have to try and be there to sort of be one of those people that's able to showcase the game to the world, to share the experience, to hopefully get some new viewers in, because if the new game does well and people find the channel, they'll suddenly see that I've got tons more Final Fantasy on the channel, and maybe they'll subscribe, maybe they'll watch some more of the content, and if they do that, they might check out the stream, they might become a patron. So there's a lot of this sort of trickle down and knock-on effects of having a successful series on the channel for a new game. So I really had to pull out all of the stops for Final Fantasy VII Remake to make sure I got as much content out there as I could and sort of be a good ambassador for the game. One of the main reasons why it was such a crazy period was also because Square Enix were absolutely awesome in sending me an early copy of the game, like a seriously early copy of the game. Now, it was a little bit strange because on the one hand, I was absolutely ecstatic that I got the game early and that Square Enix trusted me with something like this. It's an absolute honor to have Square Enix send the game to me and say, we're giving you access to the game a long time ahead of release. And well, a long time being about 10 days, but for me, that's a long time. And it's a big responsibility. And, it was great that they trusted me with that. Completely transparent here. They didn't ask me for anything. They didn't say, you have to say this about the game, or you're not allowed to say this about the game, or whatever. So I was allowed to completely just say whatever I wanted about the game. Even if I hated it, that's what I was gonna say. Thankfully, the game turned out great. I really did enjoy the game, and it did live up to pretty much almost all of the expectations that I would have personally had, and I think that the average person in the Final Fantasy community would have had for it. It was a really good game. So when it came to the actual schedule of stuff, I got the game, and I had about 9 or 10 days to create all of the content I needed to create before I was able to upload the game. So I had to think, how can I do this? Because these are the kind of opportunities that are so rare on the channel, where literally the one before this, I would say, was probably Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age in summer 2017. That was the first time Square Enix ever sent me a game early, and as a result, part 1 of Final Fantasy XII has 220,000 views or something like that, because I was literally one of the first people on YouTube to upload any content from that game. So this was a similar opportunity, and I thought my channel is much bigger now, and therefore I should have a good shot of getting some serious views in for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So that's why when I did get the game early, I had to pull out all the stops and just work night and day to really get all the content that I wanted ready for the release. So over the course of 10 days, I completed the game from start to finish twice. The first was the LP, the commentary playthrough of the game, and the second was the movie version, which I'll come to in more detail a little bit later on. But I did the LP, and I had about a day or two before I was allowed to release any content. So everything on my end was going well. I had the game early, I had the content ready, I had the LP done, I was already working on the movie version, and unfortunately the biggest reason why the playthrough didn't do as well as I wanted it to, in relative terms it still did perfectly fine. I'm definitely happy with it, but one of the main reasons it didn't do as well as I expected it to. Remember, Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age was way less hyped than Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that one had over 200,000 views, and currently part 1 has 25,000 on the channel. So, given that I've got about 80,000 more subscribers than I did back then, those numbers are pretty poor. But the reason why that happened was because Square Enix basically, because it was the pandemic, they didn't want people to have severe delays in receiving the game. So as soon as the game was ready to ship, they shipped it out early to a lot of people. So a lot of people that normally wouldn't get the game until release day, they had the game pretty much the same time that I did. So unfortunately, most of the advantage I gained from getting the game early was wiped away because pretty much everybody else got the game early too. So I lost out big time on that, and what that meant is that there was so much content uploaded on the embargo date that there wasn't really too much I could do to compete with that, because so many people already had the game, and there's a lot of people who aren't more professional YouTubers. They don't really have anything to lose, so they're willing to break embargo. So what if Square Enix takes it down? It's fine. Maybe they won't see it, maybe they will. who knows? And for those guys, it's not really a big deal, so they'll just pump out whatever content they want to, and just see how it goes. But for me, because I got a copy of the game from the developer, I'm not able to do anything like that. I have to sign an NDA, and there's certain requirements I have to meet in terms of what I can upload and when I can upload it. So for me, the requirement was that on the 6th, I believe, let me just check the date of these. So when was this uploaded? Yeah, on the 6th. And the game itself came out on the 10th. So Square Enix allowed people like me to officially release footage 4 days before the game released. And the main caveat was that I wasn't allowed to include anything from the ending, and I wasn't allowed to upload more than 1 hour's worth of content on the 6th of April. So you guys obviously know that normally what I do, especially for longer games, is to upload about an hour for the first part of the playthrough. And that's what I would have normally done, but then I thought to myself, well, Square Enix is giving me this opportunity to upload an hour of content 4 days before the official release. Should I just blow that entire hour just on the first part of the LP? Or is there something I can do to help, with the hype, help with the views, get a bit more attention to the channel for when the LP actually continues? So I decided to break it up. I asked if I was allowed to do that. I said, can I upload like half an hour of the first part of the walkthrough, and then can I upload like some other snippets of cutscenes from, not the ending? And they said that's fine, so that's what I decided to do. I split it up in the hope that the previews that I shared would get some attention and bring some new traffic to the channel. So that's why these sort of preview moments existed. These, again, if you look at the numbers, they're not really that great. I picked myself previews to share with people. Unfortunately, once again, it didn't work out as well as it should have, because the game, too many people had the game early. So by this stage, people were already leaking stuff left, right, and center. So there were uncontrolled, people were uploading big chunks of the game. They were uploading lots of big spoilers, not spoiler tagging properly, not following the rules and all that sort of stuff. And understandably, a lot of people that were hyped for the game, they just completely refused to watch anything Final Fantasy VII related because they didn't want to be spoiled, and that's totally fair. So that's one reason why there were serious issues with this sort of stuff. And another reason is, of course, because so many people had it in the first place, even though I was sort of able to upload an hour's worth of content on the 6th of April, there was already just so much content uploaded at that time that my stuff didn't end up being really anything special or unique, or it didn't really serve as enough of a preview for people that were searching for this stuff, because there were already a lot of people that were leaking footage that I was only able to provide on the 6th and in snippet form. So unfortunately, my plan for the build up to Final Fantasy VII Remake didn't quite go as planned. Only one of them, I think, got a decent amount of views. This Cloud's Dream of Aerith did okay, but most of them, they didn't really do that well, not as well as I expected. And if you look at the comments, a lot of people were like, oh, you're uploading spoilers and all this kind of thing. And that's the issue. You get dragged in with people who don't have Square Enix's official consent and permission to upload these. So literally, Square Enix vetted these videos for me to upload, and I was allowed to do so. So in terms of that sort of stuff, it was a little bit of a shit show, and it really didn't go as it should have. If this was a more clean release where loads of people who shouldn't have the game early didn't, and I was able to sort of genuinely upload what I wanted to, and it was more exclusive, as exclusive as it should have been, then I think all of this stuff would have done way better, and there would have been less problems with people being worried about genuine big time spoilers, people dumping the ending on there, trying to dump full walkthroughs, streaming the whole game and all that sort of stuff. But unfortunately, that's the way it goes sometimes, and my Final Fantasy VII Remake numbers suffered as a result. The most obvious manifestation of those issues was actually in part 1 of the walkthrough. So this went out 4 days before the game was released, and basically what happened was, again, I have Square Enix's permission to upload this, but people didn't really probably understand that. They thought I was just a guy that was trying to leak the game early. And if you see the 23 dislikes here, at this stage, this ratio is not too bad, it's pretty good, but literally about 20 of these dislikes came within the first day or so of uploading it. So I got dislike bombed on the first part of the Final Fantasy Remake because people just came in and said, oh, what an arsehole, you're just spoiling the game, and all this sort of thing. So again, there was nothing I could have done about that. I mean, what do you expect me to do? Square Enix tells me I can upload on the 6th, I upload on the 6th. That's just the way these things go. But thankfully, you know, once that initial sort of spoiler wave was over, I think I've only got like 3 more dislikes over the next 6 months, so whatever. But yeah, the general release of Final Fantasy VII Remake on the channel was pretty problematic, and I didn't really do as well as I would have hoped, but you know, can't complain too much. Square Enix sent the game early. I really did enjoy the game. I had a lot of fun with it, and the people that did watch, I did have a good response from it, and the views were still, of course, good, like much better than a normal LP that I would have uploaded at that time. So Final Fantasy VII was quite the craziness when it began. I was literally working like 14-15 hour days on this, just taking breaks to eat, go to toilet, and then like shower and stuff, and that was it. And it was just like, it was insane. For 2 weeks or so, it was an absolute madness. So that's how Final Fantasy VII Remake's sort of thing began. And then, where is that video? Okay, yeah, it's right here. So then we have Final Fantasy VII Remake All Cutscenes, the movie. Now, those of you guys, of course, once again, that follow the channel will know that I've been making video game movies for years now. And this year was like the final attempt with this sort of stuff. And again, I'll go a little bit deeper into this side of things a little bit later on. But once I got the game 10 days early, that was again a sign for me to say I could make a video game movie of this game. I've got the time to do it, and if I can release it on release day, which I did, as you can see here, on April the 10th, then I thought I could seriously get some views for doing this. And this one, again, middle of the road, like 51,000 views after 8 months is not great. But again, it's not terrible either. Like, I know what terrible looks like, and this is definitely not terrible. But is it what I wanted it to be? Not really, because once again, I was a little bit too late. There were some people that uploaded a day before I did, and technically I'm not sure if they broke the embargo or not with this stuff, but I just didn't want to take a risk. And even though the film was ready a day before it, I just could not take the risk. I didn't want to get in trouble with Square Enix for doing anything like that. So I ended up waiting, and I think even that one day cost me, because the ones that have more views than me, they were all I think uploaded a day before mine was. So unfortunately I lost out a little bit on that, but I'm actually really proud of how this movie turned out. Again, it's some of my best work, and I really think I did about as good a job as I could have possibly done in such a small time frame of putting together a marathon edition full movie. I mean, look at this thing, it's 11 hours and 11 minutes long. So imagine I completed the game, like, you know, commentary walkthrough of the whole game. I completed the game again to make the movie version, and then I edited the entire thing all in the space of about 10 days. So you can imagine just like how sleepless and how tired and exhausted I was by the end of like this whole sort of situation with Final Fantasy VII. So when it was all said and done, I think it was definitely worth it. I mean, I'm very happy with the content that I put out for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think strategically, you know, I think I was pretty on point, but you know, just the circumstances surrounding the release and the pandemic and loads of people getting the game early and dislike bombing and all that sort of stuff, it did sort of sour that side of things a bit. But in terms of did I enjoy the game, did people generally enjoy watching, and was it a good positive contribution to the channel? Absolutely. So that was the Final Fantasy VII sort of situation, and it was a very big sort of time for the channel. And then I got to, damn, you can see Death Stranding is just going on and on and on and on and on. And it took until, how long did it take for me to finish? Well, finish uploading anyway, 27th of April. It took almost 6 months to upload, but it really was a marathon sort of game. And I quickly realized that the people that are going to invest in this series are the kind of people that are willing to be patient and, you know, wait for the series to be uploaded whenever I was able to. So that was cool. Wrapped up Death Stranding at the end of April. So yeah, you can see it's a wild time on the channel in 2020. I mean, look, Final Fantasy VII, Nier Automata, Death Stranding, and Final Fantasy X P Birdman pretty much all going on at the same time. Like, look at this. All of them. 1, 2, 3, 4 different series within the space of like 6 uploads. So this sort of part of the year was probably the most intense I've worked on YouTube, like over a period of time, that I've probably ever done on the channel. I mean, the month of April really was insane, and because I knew that Final Fantasy VII Remake was coming and the views were going to go up as a result, channel exposure was going to go up, I really wanted to do my best to work hard and keep pumping out the content. The lockdowns had happened, so it's not like I had too much else to do, and I just wanted to sort of focus on my work and try and get as much content done as I could during that sort of time. So as we continue, okay. So as the title would suggest, what I did for this one was basically try and do like a YouTube plays Final Fantasy X sort of video. And it was an idea where, again, like with most of these sort of bright spark ideas I have, I'm sort of like, it sounds good, but I have no idea if it's going to work or not. And so, like, you know, the idea, the premise, as you're going to watch right now, is that I basically streamed the 99 Warp Spheres chess game in Final Fantasy X. And basically, everyone that's viewing in the live stream, I pick one person at a time, and that person chooses which chest I open, and we see if we can open all 12 chests in the space of a live stream. And that was the goal, but obviously technically I was like, are we going to be able to pull this off? Is it going to be too like crazy in chat? Is it going to work and whatever? But it was one of the most fun streams I think I've ever done, and everyone in the chat just seemed to absolutely love it. And you know, we spent, I think it was, well, like, let me see, it was three and a half hours of running through Omega Ruins, opening chests with you guys, and it was really like, it was a quirky stream, but it was one of the most fun things that I've done on the channel, and you guys seem to really enjoy it too. We didn't manage to open all 12, we got to 11, which was epic. I mean, the excitement was really, really palpable, and so it's something that I'd love to do again on the channel, and I'm definitely thinking of doing the same thing again to see if we can crack the 12 chests this time. But yeah, the 12th anniversary of the channel was really, really good fun, and thank you to everyone that was a part of that one. It was a great day. So then we continue into the middle part of the year, and yes, okay. So this was when I released a Final Fantasy X video. Let's see. So, Final Fantasy X Secrets 17, the Final Fantasy X you've never played. I decided that it was finally time to get into some of the more Ultimania sides of Final Fantasy X, and of course what I mean by that is that Final Fantasy X has a resource called the Ultimania Guide, which contains a lot of extra information that you're not really going to be able to find by just playing the game, or you know, just going on the wiki and all this sort of stuff. So there was some more things I wanted to research and I wanted to share with you guys that I'd never seen before, and that hopefully some of you guys had never seen before. And so I started off the Final Fantasy X Secrets series on the channel. And the first one was something that's not really like that featured in the Ultimania, but it's something I'd known about for a few years, and I was kind of keeping it in the back pocket to turn into a video someday. And that was the whole 17 premise of Final Fantasy X, the early sort of development premise before it became the game that we all know and love. So I created this series, and you know, again, the response was great. Look at this, 683 likes, only 4 dislikes. Again, that's literally about as good as it gets. Views wise, again, it's like not quite what I'm expecting, but I think over time these videos tend to do better. So I've had videos like this before where they've kind of chugged along, and then over time they've started to gain some more momentum, so I'm not too worried. I was more worried about getting the right sort of content across and doing it in the right way. So I'm happy with how the video turned out, and it was the start of this particular series that is continuing on the channel. So that was May. Then Final Fantasy VII Remake and Nier Automata continues. I mean, that's a hell of a combo with some more P. Birdman thrown in for good measure. What else? Okay, yes, here we go. So the next sort of milestone thing that's caught my attention is the Dansg08 podcast. So Dansg08 podcast episode 1 with P. Birdman was released on the 6th of June. So you can see it's been a busy year already, man, seriously. So as you can see, a lot of stuff got done in 2020, man. Like, looking back on it, I did not, even for me, I didn't realize there was like this much this year. I've just been scrolling and scrolling videos, and we're only halfway through the year, and there's still like new stuff that I need to talk about. So yeah, the podcast is something that I'd wanted to do for quite some time. It was a way for me to sort of collaborate with more people, and to get to talk to and get to meet more people that interest me. And, you know, I thought P. Birdman would be an excellent person to have as the first one, because the P. Birdman mod is a series that's been doing well on the channel. A lot of people have been interested in it, and I thought, well, this would be a great first guest, as we could discuss the mod and we could find out more about the man behind the mod, and we could talk some good old Final Fantasy X. So that's what I did, and as you can see, I mean, for a podcast, you know, it's long form. The first one was an hour and 50 minutes. So for people to sit down and listen to a conversation for an hour and 50 minutes, given that this is mainly like a gameplay walkthrough channel, so, you know, a podcast is more about what's being spoken and it's not really about any background footage. For the P. Birdman mod, I did have background footage to put, but I think it was definitely much more about the conversation. And so the podcast format was one that I never really expected like any kind of huge views from. But honestly, it really surprised me once again. Like, you know, 4,860 views is not too shabby at all. It's almost 5,000, and considering like how many views like a random walkthrough episode will get on the channel, 5,000 is pretty good going. And once again, for me, the important thing is that people enjoyed it. And, you know, 316 to 2 again is almost perfect, and I had a lot of great responses. A lot of people enjoyed listening to it. People wanted more. So when it came to the podcast, it was a really good way to start, and it was really motivating, and I definitely wanted to do more of that stuff. So thank you to P. Birdman as well, if you're checking this one out. Thank you for joining me and being the guinea pig for the Dansg08 podcast. So, you know, it was poetic because I was the guinea pig for his mod of Final Fantasy X, and he was my guinea pig for the podcast. So yeah, halfway through the year, I was making moves and starting the Dansg08 podcast. So let's continue. I was getting close to the end of Nier Automata at this stage, and Final Fantasy VII actually. They were going to end at a similar time. And then, you know, for me, like May to June of the year is like when all of my sort of anniversaries happen, so a lot of shit happens back to back. And of course, at the start of June, that was when the 24/7 stream's second anniversary happened. This for me, of course, again, is a huge milestone. The stream is my baby. You know, it's one of those things that it's become like one of the highlight features of the channel, of course. And so, you know, the fact that it's still going strong, and the fact that during this time of the year, especially after we sort of had Final Fantasy VII Remake happening as well, plus the pandemic, this was when we really started to notice some more numbers coming into the stream, and it really started to sort of hit a different tier of viewership on YouTube. So, you know, when it came to stream, everything was going well. The moderator team was all there, and we were having a great time. And so we decided to do something again, you know, something fun for the second year anniversary. The first year was going to be very, very hard to beat. I mean, the first year was so incredibly special because it was such a new concept, and, you know, everyone involved was kind of new to the whole thing, and we didn't really know how it was going to pan out. And we sort of, you know, it was such a fresh and unique experience that it was extremely hard to sort of replicate the energy and the vibe of the first anniversary. And so I didn't try to get into this whole thing of trying to one up the anniversary or anything like that. I just wanted to do something that I thought was fun and that could feature my moderators too, because they're such a huge part of the stream. So since I'd already gotten into the whole podcast thing, I decided to do the Modcast, and that was it was a lot of work, you know, getting together almost all of the mod team into like one place and trying to have this conversation between like 10 people or 12 people or something. It was pretty insane, but again, we had a lot of fun together. It was a wonderful time. I'm glad I got to make this content with them, and I think it's something that, you know, I like to try and create these sort of moments in time, as it were. You know, maybe in a year's time, 5 years time, 10 years time, if the channel still exists, it might be something cool for like me and like the moderator team to go back to and to listen to. So these are sort of like time capsule kind of videos, and so for that reason they mean a lot to me. And so it was really great to be able to do that with those guys, and I really didn't care about like how many people watched it or whatever. It was just something that I wanted to share with my team and to upload onto the channel. And we did that. You guys, of course, you know, everyone that was in the stream, you had a great time listening to it, and it was just it was a nice vibe once again to celebrate 2 years of streaming 24/7 on the channel. God knows what I'm going to do for the third year. It's going to get increasingly difficult, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. So June, again, was a big month because not only did we have the P. Birdman podcast, we also had the stream's 2nd year anniversary and the Modcast too. That was another big piece of content on the channel, just sheerly for the number of people involved and all of the editing. Like you're seeing on screen, I literally like highlighted every single speaker as they spoke for like a 2-hour podcast. So it took a long time to do, but I'm really happy again with how it turned out, and it was worth the effort. The mod team are worth it. But of course, there is no rest for the wicked, and not too soon after that stuff, it was time for The Last of Us 2. Boy oh boy, this was very interesting. So, The Last of Us 2, I'm gonna try to not talk about too much about the game itself, because that's this video would be 17 hours long if I start to do that for every single thing. It's already a lot longer than I anticipated, but I want to tell the story of The Last of Us 2 on the channel. So basically, once again, because The Last of Us is literally the most popular content I've ever made on the channel, more popular than any Final Fantasy content I've ever created, I was very interested in trying to get the game early, and once again trying to make some timely uploads to see if I can leverage the success of the first Last of Us game and really sort of make a splash on the channel. Now, as you can see from the views on part 1 of the walkthrough, that did not happen, but I will get to some more aspects of this stuff as I continue. So once again, the quest began to try and get an early copy of The Last of Us 2. And in my world, the way you do that, if you want to do it legitimately and you don't want to try and hunt for like people that are going to try and break the street date and sell it to you early and all this sort of more shady shit, the official legit way is to basically try and get the PR people involved in the game to send you an early copy. And when it came to Sony UK, I tried my luck, and they surprisingly got back to me, and I was like, okay, well, I've had failures in the past. I tried to get like Shadow of the Colossus remake, I tried to get God of War, I tried to get The Last Guardian. So any Sony game I tried to get previously early, it's never worked before, so I wasn't very optimistic when it came to that kind of thing. And they got back to me, which was interesting, and basically they forwarded me to a PR company that was in charge of like promo stuff for The Last of Us 2. And they got back to me and they said, okay, that's cool, we'd like to work with you on the release of The Last of Us 2, and I was really excited. So what they said was, we'd like you to do like a competition / giveaway kind of thing, where we're going to send you 2 copies of like the LE Special Collector's Edition of the game. You can keep one for yourself and do like an unboxing or whatever you want to do with it, and one of them you can give away to your followers. And so I was like, okay, I could do this, but that didn't feel like the Dansg08 way to me. It felt a bit too much like overt promotion of the game. And when they did approach me about this whole thing, they said we're also welcome to sort of discussing, if you don't just want to do like a plain giveaway, if you think there's something that's more suited for your audience, we can of course talk about something like that as well. And I said, okay, that's great, because I think we might be able to find something a bit more interesting for like my audience. So what I suggested, what I pitched to the PR company, was that the game has a photo mode, and people know that I love like photography and photo mode in games and that kind of thing. And I said to them, can we have a photo competition? And I said I can ask people that are following the channel, playing the game, to send in some photos from photo mode, and I can pick my favorite, and that one can win the LE edition of The Last of Us. So to me it sounded fun, it was interactive, we get to share photos and all that kind of stuff. And basically, for some reason, they never really got back to me about it, and then they just basically ended up just saying no. It was like we decided not to carry on with this at this time or something like that. So it was like a bit of a weird kind of response, and I was like, okay, fair enough. I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean, that's what I pitched, and you said that I was able to create something that catered more to my audience, but if that's not going to work for you, then fine. But what I did say was that, okay, you were going to send like the LE edition or whatever, but I was like, I just want the game code so I can actually record and prepare content. So like the standard request that you would make of a PR company. So I said, at least is that possible? And again, they replied back with no, and they were like, sorry, like, well, we can't give any early copies. Even the LE edition that we were going to ship out to you, it was going to be shipped out on release day. And I was like, wait a minute, what the hell? Like, you know, so this wasn't really going to benefit me at all in that sense. So it all felt a little bit weird to me. Like, I thought surely they would have sent me the stuff early so that I could run the competition in the build-up to the game, like not after the game's release. I thought that was a bit weird. And so anyway, it wasn't looking very good for me, and I was like, well, I guess there's not too much I can do. I'm just gonna have to wait until release and just see where the chips fall. And then weirdly, a contact at Sony themselves, so the first person I reached out to before they passed me on to like the PR company, they'd originally said to me that they're not going to have codes before release day. Then, like 5 or 6 days before the game came out, suddenly I found a code in my inbox, and they were like, "Oh, here's a code for the game," and I was like, "Wait a minute, what the fuck?" And so that was really great news, and I was really happy that they sent me the code. And so that was the second sort of time in the year when Dansg08 went into overdrive, and it was back to those like 13-15 hour days recording and editing and LPing and all this sort of stuff. Again, for like 10 days or so I went absolutely nuts, and just you know, again, had to play through the game twice, once for the LP and once for the movie version. It was seriously a very, very important time in the channel. Final Fantasy VII Remake hadn't really given me the views that I wanted, and so I thought this is a second shot, and I thought I'm going to try my best to really make it work with this one. As you can see, for the LP, unfortunately, it didn't really work at all, which is a shame, but oh well, you know, again, things happen. But the more important one, I think, was always going to be the movie version. So, The Last of Us 2 full movie version. Now, because the original movie version that I made literally almost has 9 million views right now, I figured even though I'm not going to be able to make it on time, like again, 5 days or so just was not enough to do the commentary run, do the cinematic run and edit the entire thing, because The Last of Us 2 ended up being way longer than I expected. I mean, the movie version of The Last of Us 2 is 10.5 hours long. The first game was a little over 6 hours, so it's almost double the length of the first game in terms of like its story. So for that reason, it just took me a lot longer than I would have liked. But despite this, I thought to myself, I have literally the most watched movie version of The Last of Us on the entire platform. I thought surely once I do upload my version, it's going to be, you know, YouTube is probably going to link those two videos together well enough that I'm going to be able to drive traffic over from The Last of Us 2 to The Last of Us 2. So I took my time with it. I made sure that it was done to the best of my ability. The first version I uploaded unfortunately had some unforeseen like glitches / issues in it, so I had to take the first one down. It was a very difficult decision because it looked like it was getting views, but I just couldn't live with myself like uploading something that wasn't, at least to my eye, as close to perfect as I could have made it. Like there were some glaring glitches that for some reason I didn't see when I was uploading, and I just couldn't let it go, and I thought I have to fix these and upload it again. And so that's why the movie version came out like officially on the 27th of June 2020. And you know, for that reason, it's later than I would have liked, but almost 6 months and 73,000 views. Again, is it setting the world on fire for a channel of my size? And given that the first video has 9 million views, no. But I feel like it was worth the time, and this was a video that I really always felt like I had to have on the Dansg08 archive, because as the years go by, this game is a classic. People will always be coming back to it and watching it, and so I felt like, you know, over the years it was always going to accumulate views one way or another. So The Last of Us 2 movie was probably one of the biggest highlights of the channel in terms of important content I really needed to upload, and it capped off the second period of crunch basically on the Dansg08 channel in 2020. So I completed Nier Automata in July. So it took, again, I started at the end of February and I finished at the start of July. It was about 4 months or so, I would say, to complete that playlist. So, you know, standard going for a long Dansg08 playthrough. Top 10 all time, you can see from the thumbnail. Nier Automata is an absolutely incredible game. I really, really loved it. And it's one of those series that, again, I would definitely recommend for people to check out. Then came this slightly dramatic video. Sometimes you're going to have a little drama, right? So it's titled Retiring from Video Game Movies, Why and a New Opportunity for Content. So basically this year was the final year where I was going to try the whole video game movie thing just to see if it still had any of that sort of spark and the view potential that it did in like 2013, 14, 15. And unfortunately, as you guys saw from the numbers, given the size of my channel, given the previous movie content that I have, you know, I always thought that the fact that I have a lot of well-watched movies, like in the millions, I always thought that when I upload new ones of those, I will be able to get like a lot of related views and that kind of thing. And it just never happened. So, you know, after 2 crunch periods in which I worked extremely hard to make these movie versions, I quickly realized that no matter how hard I work on these, I just cannot get these movies out quickly enough. I'm always beaten to the punch. And when that happens, unless you are literally one of the first 1 or 2 movies that go up on YouTube, you never really get the views, and it never sort of recovers. And unfortunately, you kind of get stuck like that. So, you know, it all started with God of War, I think. God of War was one of the best movies I ever made. I was so proud of the work I did for that. And I think in like 2 years now it has about 20,000 views. And so, you know, I could have made 100 LP episodes, you know, in the time that it took to make that, and that would have been hundreds of thousands of views. So for all of that effort, I basically got almost zero return. And as someone that does this professionally, you know, I pay my bills with it. You know, I run my life with the money that I make from YouTube. It's a really stupid time investment to spend 200 hours on a movie version and quite literally earn almost nothing doing it. So, you know, after a time it came to a head, and I thought, I got The Last of Us 2 early, and I got Final Fantasy VII Remake early, and even despite those almost perfect conditions, you know, 2 franchises for which the channel is already very, very popular, if these are not getting the views that they used to get either, then I think it's time to give it up and not do these movie versions anymore. So this was a video about that sort of stuff. Of course, if you want the long explanation, it's 24 minutes long, and you're welcome to check it out. But that was the gist of it, and this was the year that barring very, very, very special circumstances, I will be retiring from video game movies. So that was a bit of a somber note, but of course it opened me up to try and consider more new content for the future. So when I get new games early in the future, potentially, I will be looking to try and do maybe some different things to making video game movies. But unfortunately, even though I loved making the video game movies, and I'm proud of every single one that I've made, and it taught me a lot about editing and all that kind of stuff, it was a really good sort of practice for me to do as well. And it's just, they're great videos for me to have on my archive, and they will be there, you know, for as long as the channel exists. So I'm very happy with everything I did over the years in terms of video game movies. But 2020 was when I decided to just say, enough is enough. I've had a good run. I'm going to have to stop making these movies because they just do not get the return that they need to at this stage. So that was a somber note on the channel this year. Yeah, I wonder why this particular video got, it got almost 3 times as many views as the previous one. I have no idea why that might be the case, but, you know, there you go. Things happen sometimes. So yes, then we went into the summer break. I completed the highly controversial Last of Us 2. Check out my review of the game if you'd like to hear my thoughts on it. It was pretty crazy. Over the summer, I slowed things down a little bit. Still continued to upload content, but I slowed things down. I did the post-game stuff for Final Fantasy VII that I was curious about. I uploaded those while I was in Turkey. And for the P-Birdman mod, I did some more live streams for you guys, which again was a lot of fun. You guys kept me company while I was doing the monster capturing, the very tedious monster capturing stuff for the P-Birdman mod. So over the summer we did some of that. I uploaded my second podcast. It was a conversation with Toby Ott. He is a friend of mine who we worked with to make a documentary back in 2017 that went on to, you know, be shared millions of times on the internet, and we won awards and all that good stuff. And I wanted to sit down and talk about that sort of experience and the experiences of a blind gamer. So if that interests you, it's definitely a podcast that you should be listening to. So that was podcast number 2. So at this stage, at the end of summer 2020, I had 2 more releases to cover on the channel, basically, that I thought were quite important. The first was Crash Bandicoot 4, and the other was Cyberpunk 2077. And Cyberpunk got delayed to November, and I had about a month or so before Crash Bandicoot dropped. and I'd completed Final Fantasy VII Remake as well, so I basically had very little to actually record on the channel. And during this time, I decided to take a break from the marathon games I've been playing for the last couple of years or so, and I wanted to play a few shorter ones. And the first one of those was actually Cuphead. So I uploaded some more Ultimania secrets as well. You know, when I had the time to work on non-LP material, I uploaded some more Final Fantasy secrets, which was a really good one. Again, highly recommended that you check this one out if you haven't already. Some great secrets here. Then I started to upload Cuphead, which was something unique on the channel for sure. I mean, I don't play a lot of these kind of games, and it was notoriously difficult, and the main thing was that it was a shorter game, and that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to go for it for sure. It's a series where if you want to see, you know, some of that Dansg08 frustration and a really difficult game that's going to push me to the limit, then I think you should definitely check this series out too. But this series was also interesting because it was the first time I tried to do something a little bit different in terms of having a death counter for my run and trying to do a giveaway for whoever managed to guess the death run the closest. So that's something we did. We had a death counter, and on part 1 I encourage you guys to go in and try and comment on how many deaths you think I'm going to have during the playthrough. And literally the number was 388 that I got in the end. One person guessed it exactly right, and one person was within 1 of that guess. So it was pretty insane. The person who did get 388, they never got back to me, and it took ages, so I had to kind of disqualify them because they never got back to me. But the person who got 387, I sent them a Cuphead mug as a little prize for guessing it, and it was just it was a fun experience all round. So Cuphead was a good series to have on the channel. I did enjoy myself, and it was nice to play something shorter and sweeter in that sense. So that was Cuphead. Then came something very unexpected. Final Fantasy XVI trailer. Out of nowhere. Literally, the 17th of September was an insane day for me because it was the day I travelled from Istanbul back to London with Coco. So I brought my cat Coco to London to live here permanently with me. I'm going to be going back and forth between Turkey and England in the future, but I'm going to be spending less time in Turkey, so Coco's permanent home is going to be in London, barring any future changes. And that whole thing was an absolute trek for me and Coco. I think it took about 16 hours or 17 hours to make the trip. We had to go to France first, and then from France we had to get on a train to Calais, and then we had to get in a taxi to get across, and it was one of the most tiring days I've had in a very, very long time. And so I came home in London, you know, threw myself on the bed, I felt like I could sleep for like 30 hours. Just as I'm about to go to sleep, my social media starts blowing up. I start seeing messages on my Discord, and it's like, oh my god, there's a Final Fantasy 16 trailer that's been revealed. And I'm just like, you know what, I am actually so insanely tired right now that I'm not even gonna watch this trailer with this sort of energy right now. Like, let me just sleep on this, and as soon as I wake up, like, that's when I'll check this trailer out and share my reactions with people. And so yes, we got the trailer for Final Fantasy 16, like a full 4-minute one. It wasn't even like some teaser with some pre-rendered cutscene. It was legit. And so obviously I shared my thoughts about all of that stuff, and you know, the hype for Final Fantasy 16 has already begun. So that's really exciting, and of course for the full reaction you can definitely check the video out, but that was a definite surprise on the 17th of September 2020, and we are definitely going to be getting more information next year about this, so stay tuned, of course. So then after that, things ramped up once again on the channel because obviously I'd completed Final Fantasy VII Remake, and for those people that have been following my Final Fantasy adventures over the years would have known that Final Fantasy VI was the next one. Because I'm going backwards in time, I completed Final Fantasy VII, the original, then I played the remake because it was fresh, and then it was time to go back to Final Fantasy VI. And so, what was the dates when I uploaded this? 26th of September 2020 was when I uploaded the first part of Final Fantasy VI. Now, this video is probably is it the single? Yeah, I think it might be. This is probably the single video that blew my mind the most in 2020 because honestly, This is insane. Like, look at the views here, and you know the likes compared to Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. Like, let that sink in. Like, you know you have a cultured Final Fantasy audience when Final Fantasy VI Part 1 uploaded in 2020 outperforms Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, that just blew my mind. I really did not expect that to happen. I mean, almost up to 1,000 likes and only 9 dislikes. Like, what the hell? Like, that's just insane. The interest and, you know, the feedback on Final Fantasy VI has been absolutely incredible. I'm so grateful. Like, I really was just like, honestly, like, in my heart of hearts, I thought after Final Fantasy VII, what's going to happen is we're going to see a steady decrease in the amount of views and interest in the Final Fantasies that I play on the channel, because we're getting to older and older content. You know, less and less people are going to be interested in it, and I was really just not expecting too much from Final Fantasy VI. Even though I knew a lot of people said it was a great game, in terms of just like the viewership itself, I really wasn't expecting that much viewership for it. And because the LP side of 2020, like, in terms of views, hasn't been like anything special at all. Like The Last of Us 2 is sitting on like 5,800. You know, Final Fantasy VII Remake didn't really do all that amazingly well, so I didn't really have the highest of hopes for Final Fantasy VI. But when I uploaded it, I was just like, whoa, like, the views just kept going up and up and up. I thought maybe after like the first 2-3 days or something it's going to really sharply decline, but the views have continued to trickle in, and you guys have continued to enjoy the series. I absolutely love this game. It was really good. As of creating this video, I completed the game already, but the uploads are continuing. But Final Fantasy VI Walkthrough Part 1 was, you know, LP wise, it was one of the sort of saving graces of the channel this year. I really thought with how quickly the subs were going up, I thought the LP views would be higher by now. Mostly that hasn't happened, unfortunately, but you know, it is what it is. There's no point sort of complaining about it. There's not really much I can do. I'm making the best content that I can make. I have to just try to supplement the LP stuff with different content. I have to try and get people to support on Patreon, because things like Patreon, they just, I've always said it, it really does negate the sort of need for views on a YouTube channel, because the best way to put it is that financially a $1 patron earns me 100 times more than someone who watches a video on the channel in terms of ad revenue. So if you're ever wondering, like, even the $1 tier, does that even really matter that much? I mean, it's only $1, like, it's not going to really change anyone's life. Honestly, it makes a huge difference, because ad revenue, it only really works when it happens in like really large quantities, and when you bring it down to the individual level. So if you watch 30 videos a month, you might earn me like 2 cents, 3 cents, 5 cents, something like that. And so when you compare that to like being a $1 patron a month, it makes a huge amount of difference. So that's why, instead of trying to, you know, think how can I boost LP views, honestly, there's not really much I can do. I mean, what else can I do other than just play the game and just have fun playing it? You know, make sure I've got the right title, the right thumbnail and whatever. Try to play the new games that I'm interested in as they come out. When it comes to LPs, I think that's pretty much the limit. There's not really too much innovation or anything interesting you can do with it. So that's why I try to make different content now and then to supplement the channel. The stream's doing really well, and Patreon and that kind of stuff. And when you bring it all together as like one collective, the channel is doing really well. So overall, I'm extremely happy. But when it comes to like the LP views as like a specific thing, it's not been too great this year. But Final Fantasy VI has been one of the shining lights of the channel, and I'm really grateful for how the series has turned out and for the interest that you guys have shown it. So yes, that is the start of Final Fantasy VI, but not long after that happened, it was time for Crash Bandicoot 4. So this is a game that I was super hyped for, because I love Crash Bandicoot 1 to 3 so much, and finally getting a successor to those games after like 20 years, it was just huge for me, and I was so looking forward to reliving my childhood. And for the most part, you know, overall I did really enjoy Crash Bandicoot 4, but it did have some serious things that I did not like about it as well. But when you put it all together, I mean, it was definitely a great journey through memory lane. And when the nostalgia part of it sort of faded and was more about the game itself, there was obviously some really good things about the game as well, aside from the questionable difficulty, shall we say. To hear more about that, of course, just watch the final part of the LP where I break it all down. But Crash Bandicoot 4, like on a personal level, was a big one for the channel, and I really was excited to play it. And especially like for the first session or two, I had a wonderful time playing it. And for the rest of it, it was a bit more of a mixed bag, but overall good. The reason why it was a milestone on my channel was, again, people who follow the channel and what I talk about in terms of my aims for the channel will know that one of my goals for this year was to start uploading content in 4K. And this is the first full LP on the channel that I uploaded in 4K. So I finally got myself a device that's capable of recording it and doing it reliably. And you know, my computer has the horsepower to work with those files and to render those files. And even though the uploads take quite long now because the file size is so big, I think it's worth it. The games look great in 4K, and it's really nice to be able to share it in that higher quality. Of course, quality is one of these things that to me is sort of lower down in the tier list of why a particular person would watch your walkthrough of it. I don't think people would go around searching for who literally has the highest quality walkthrough of Crash Bandicoot 4 in terms of just like raw like pixel count and visual quality and that sort of thing. You know, people watch the content because they either like the way you play a game, or they like the way you commentate, or both. Or they have an interest in the game itself. So it's not one of these things that's super important, but to me, you know, in terms of how seriously I take what I do and the overall quality of content I want to upload, being able to sort of keep up with the times, and now so many games are available to play in 4K, I really did want to make sure that I was keeping up and sort of moving with the times and moving on to 4K a lot more as the channel continues. So the fact that I was able to start doing that this year was like a personal sort of achievement for me. I was really happy that I got to do it. And so in the future there's going to be a lot more 4K content coming up. Maybe not every single video, but there's obviously going to be a lot more 4K footage being shown and shared on the channel. And as more of you guys will move on to 4K and watch content in 4K as well, you will definitely start seeing the benefits, because 1080p, you know, maybe it doesn't really look very dated now if it's a nice quality 1080p, but I think in 5 years, in 10 years, like 1080p is going to really look quite dated. So the 4K is going to hold up nicely for pretty much forever, I think. You know, 4K is good enough quality that it's never going to look bad, I think. I would say, you know, I'm sure people said that about 360p 20 years ago, I don't know, but in general I'm very happy with the fact that I could move on to 4K content. So Crash, for that reason, was a big series on the channel. Okay, so finally coming up to the final part of the year now. Just a quick word for a upload of the extended version of Gaming Through New Eyes. The original got a lot of views, incredible feedback as well. A lot of people really loved it. The original has like 108,000 views, which for like a random documentary, I mean, I'm not someone that uploads films and documentaries on the channel in that way. So the fact that the first one even got that many views was really special. So I never really expected anything too much from this version, but it was more the sense of I just literally wanted to share it with people that didn't get to see it, because it was previously owned by, you know, I sold the rights to a network for a couple of years. So once I got the rights back, I definitely wanted to share it with everybody. So if you haven't seen this 25-minute extended cut yet, I really do implore you to check this out. It definitely won't be a waste of your time. You'll learn something new. You'll probably catch some feels as well. It's honestly, you know, Toby and his family, those guys are incredible, and their story is really interesting as well. So please do check out the extended version of Gaming Through New Eyes. Okay, really getting towards the end now. I feel like, okay, yes, of course. So, what is the date? 13th of November 2020. I did a podcast with the awesome Alex Mukala. So towards the end of 2020, a lot of people started like tagging me and pointing me in the direction of Alex Mukala's videos. And if you don't know, he is a musician slash producer slash composer, and he has been like taking the internet by storm with all of his video game music content that he's been making. And he seemed like a really cool guy, really loved his Final Fantasy, and I thought, especially since he's captured a lot of the public imagination as well, I wanted to get to know more about him and talk to him more about the music of Final Fantasy and, you know, his career. Where did it all start? How's it been going? What's it been like to be on this crazy sort of growth spurt that he's been on the last few months and all that kind of stuff? and managed to make that happen. He was kind enough to agree to get on the podcast, and we had like a really long, really good conversation with him for like, I think it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And so we made it happen, and I released the podcast. Again, like great responses on that one. A lot of people really loved listening to it. Really appreciate everyone who did. Again, very long conversational format, but people seem to dig it. So hopefully there's going to be more of these coming in the near future. It's not, again, I've said it before, but I'll repeat it. It's not something that I'm going to turn into like a weekly podcast series or anything. When I find the right people that I want to talk to, and I'm feeling like it's the right time to record it, I will record the podcasts and I will share them with you guys. So it might be like, once a month, once every 2 months. Maybe I'll do 2 in a month sometimes. It really does depend. But for me, it's more about, can I reach the right person, and can I talk about the topics that I want to talk about? So definitely more podcast content to come in 2021, but I'm happy with the ones that I managed to do in 2020. I mean, we had P. Birdman and his Final Fantasy X, P. Birdman mod-centric sort of podcast. We had the conversation with Toby about blind gaming and our documentary and our friendship. And then we had Alex Mukala about the music of Final Fantasy X, our careers, about life, about society, about a whole bunch of things. So we've already got into a lot of topics, and there's going to be a lot more interesting stuff to come, I'm sure, from the Dansg08 podcast next year. Okay, so heading towards the end of the year, as you've seen, like for like the last hour and a half, however long I've been talking, it's been an extremely busy year. I've made so much content, so much recording, so much editing, so much uploading, and all that kind of stuff, that by the time I got to like mid-November, I was like, I need to slow down a little bit and sort of go down a few gears. Like once Crash Bandicoot 4 was complete in terms of uploads, I thought, let me take it easy until Cyberpunk comes out, because that's going to be like another like a week or so where I need to push a little bit and work more hours than I normally would. So I took things easy. Once that was done, we basically just had Final Fantasy VI on the channel and Final Fantasy X P. Birdman mod on the weekends. Then I couldn't resist throwing in another Final Fantasy X Secrets video, so I made one of those a couple of weeks ago, and there is still more to come from that series. And then to round off the year, the final LP that I started on the channel was Cyberpunk 2077. So this was of course another huge game that I was personally very interested in, that I just had to cover. And so again, the whole process began of trying to get an early review copy. Long story short, that one did not work out. I did not get any kind of copy at all, but it turns out that most people didn't. I was not the only one, but I didn't get the early copy, and because I played on PC, I couldn't use certain tricks that I previously used to be able to play the game early on PS4. So that basically meant that I could only play at launch, and so as soon as the game became available, it wanted to download a giant patch. For some reason I couldn't download it in advance, and so that kind of annoyed me, and it wasted even more time. Then I had some really serious issues with the recording and the running of the game, which made things even worse. So Cyberpunk 2077 was a horrible launch in terms of behind the scenes. It just I wasted a lot of time, I was late, and obviously that reflected worse on the views and stuff as well. So like business wise / channel wise, I would say Cyberpunk 2077 ended things on a bit of a low for me, unfortunately. Thankfully the game itself does look good. I'm definitely enjoying the game, and so that's like a silver lining. But in terms of like the whole release, the build up to it, and the technical sort of thing about actually playing the game, recording it and uploading it, it's been quite a mess, and it did not end the year as I would have liked. But once again, these things happen. You can't win them all. It was frustrating for a couple of days, but you get over it fast. Life goes on, and because my channel's always relied on consistency rather than like individual video success, you forget about those things fast. You just focus on the task in hand. You keep playing, you keep recording, you keep editing, and you keep making your content, and before long you get back into the groove and everything's all good. So in that sense, all's well, and I look forward to playing more of Cyberpunk, hopefully, if it doesn't let me down too much in terms of the technical stuff. If it gets to a stage where with the current sort of build of the game I just cannot play the game as I want to be playing, and I'm spending too much time like crashing and not being able to get decent recordings and all this sort of stuff, I think I might abandon the series for a time until the game runs more efficiently and more reliably, and then I may go back to it. So it was a bit of a funky end with Cyberpunk. It was more like Cyberfunk the way that it came out. But despite that, overall it was an extremely good year. So there we go. We ended on a bit of a funky note with Cyberpunk 2077. It didn't quite go as planned. But all in all, it was a great year for the channel. I mean, there was a lot of milestones and a lot of highlights for me. I mean, everything from, Final Fantasy VII Remake was, regardless of the raw numbers not being quite as good as I'd hoped, the content that I created for that I was very happy with, and being able to get the movie version for that done as well because I got the early copy. That was great. I got to start uploading in 4K this year for the first time. I got to do the podcast. I did the Modcast with my mod team. The stream did really well this year. We got a lot of new people in, and the viewership numbers have done a lot better. I got to play some incredible games like Nier Automata. I had an absolute blast with. I got to start Final Fantasy VI, which done really surprisingly well, and I really love the game too. The P. Birdman mod continued to be like a stable source of Final Fantasy X content, and you guys continue to enjoy that, and I continue to enjoy making the videos, so it's nice to still have this consistent Final Fantasy X on the channel, and the battles in that have been very interesting and challenging, especially once I got to the Monster Arena, so that side of stuff's been cool. I've got to start the Final Fantasy X Ultimania Secret series as well, so just a whole bunch of things that have been really good for the channel too. So thank you all for being a part of that. It's been a very busy year, it's been a very tiring year sometimes. There were times where I really did feel like burnout creeping in, and I had to sort of take my foot off the gas. I did that a bit in the summer. I definitely slowed down in the summer, and I think like as of early to mid-November I slowed down again before Cyberpunk got released. Like I can feel the burnout creeping up, and when I do, no matter what's going on, I tend to always take my foot off the gas and just take it easy for a few weeks and keep things going on the channel, but like not pump out too much content, not try to over prepare too much content and that kind of thing. And that keeps me rolling, and I don't tend to, I've never had a phase where I've wanted to say, I want to walk away from this YouTube stuff, I want to not make anything for like a month or 2 months or 5 months or 6 months or whatever. So, balance wise, even though this year has probably been the heaviest year of YouTube that I've ever had, I've managed to come through on the other side. I'm still feeling good, still feeling motivated, still feel healthy, and so, I think I've managed to keep the balance right. No guarantees that next year is going to be this intense in terms of uploads, but it's good to know that even in my 12th year of being on YouTube, I'm still like able to pump out this much content, and I'm still motivated and enjoying what I do. It really is a blessing to be able to continue to do this, and I will continue to do this to the best of my ability for 2021. So that rounds up the Dansg08 2020 story, and I will now leave you guys with the outro that I recorded. So there we have it, guys. A big year on the channel, lots of things happened, lots of content, but all in all it was a really successful year for me. When you look at how difficult this year was for so many people around the world, some people have had truly devastating years as a result of this whole pandemic stuff. For me personally, I've just been so fortunate once again to be able to sort of ride out the storm. A lot of new people have come into the channel as a result of maybe spending more time like watching content because they're working from home and they have more time to maybe background stuff, etc. Met a lot of new people, and the community and the vibe on the channel is better and stronger than ever. So I want to thank you all once again. A special thank you of course to my moderator team, who are awesome as always, and continuing to try and support the stream and the community so that we can continue to sort of band together during this difficult time and give the world a bit more of a little positive vibe in our own little bubble of the internet. So I really do appreciate each and every one of you that's been supporting the channel in whatever way you can, and I really look forward to hopefully bringing you guys some amazing content in 2021. Some cool games will hopefully be coming out. I'll be continuing to try and come up with like new interesting ways to create content, hopefully outside of just the walkthrough stuff, and more podcasts and all of that good stuff. So looking forward to another year on the channel. I hope you guys will stick with me and you continue to enjoy the content. So thank you all for the love, and I'll see you all in 2021. Take care.